Welcome back to Pizza Talk. I'm Peter Reinhardt with Nino, Coniglio, Shaylin Brand, and their dog. I see just the top of your doggy's head. What introduce us to your
Logan.
dog?
Logan.
Logan. Hey, now that was a great shot. He loves the camera. Clearly
Logan,
loves the camera.
150-pound Rottweiler.
Oh my gosh.
He's very
Actually, the origin of Logan was Vinny Rotolo.
Yeah.
Vegas.
Yep.
Yeah. So Vincent Rotolo has a 24-year-old son, and
in Brooklyn,
and this was his dog. Basically, what happened was they actually just had a baby. Congrats to the new Rotolo.
Yeah.
he's a grandpa.
Yeah, Justin, they're in a small spot because of some stuff with the coronavirus right now. They're like stuck at his house. So they, Vinny called me and he's like, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you watch my kid's dog for like 6 months
For
or
an
something?
indefinite amount of time.
Yeah, exactly.
He's yours now.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
that's sweet, and it's great that you were able to take him in, and he seems to be very happy, which is great. Well, I was just thinking when we were in our last couple of segments, we talked about your pizza journey, and now you're in the pizza business, and you've grown up into it. And I was thinking when we first met, the first time I met you was when I was judging that Caputo Cup competition in Harlem about 4 or 5 years ago, and John Arena was sitting next to me. He's one of the judges also, and we'd been seeing a lot of pizzas, and we were starting to get pizza fatigue. And all of a sudden, he gives me an elbow, and he goes, "Here comes Nino," and I said, "Who's Nino?" He says, "Wait, you'll see." He said, "He's gonna have something special," and that's when I first. And you came and you were talking in our last episode about when the light went off for you, and you started to connect the dots between knowing how to learn the hard way, and then reading and studying and picking up things from some books. And all of a sudden, you're bringing culinary sensibility into your pizzas. And so, look at this! I love this shot. And Logan's got a great jawline there. Anyway, and then so one of the things you did at that competition was you brought your pizza. You did something no one else did. You presented your pizza, and then you took out a block of salt and you started grating the salt over the pizza. And I thought, now that's an interesting technique. It's something you would see some, culinary person do. But so let's talk a little bit about sort of how all these little threads of your life came together and this culinary influence that's allowed you to be more creative with your work.
I mean, basically, that was, now looking back on it and seeing where it's gone. I mean, that's the easy part. I mean, with the internet and having supercomputers in your pocket, it's like easier than ever to kind of like study ingredients and study flavors and how things go together. And there's a whole science behind all that and this and that. That happened after I picked up the books and, just started doing some testing and taking my craft seriously. But I'm going to tell you something. Now it's flipped. So now, more and more, I see people without the discipline, but have the discipline from the study, but they've never worked. Like they kind of like learn on their own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is fine, but I think one of the biggest things we're going to see from a business standpoint is just guys who never got that other discipline that's not being taught, that I learned since I was 12 years old. I'm banging out pies are the right way to do it, blah, 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 blah. Because I see so many people taking shortcuts now. Like it's just, and the stretching techniques and this and that, where I'm like, hey man, like maybe like go work at a place where you're going to be forced to like learn that.
You got to bring the real world into the theoretical and into the artistic.
Right. Yeah. You see the stretching techniques with some of these people, and then they like kind of make up for it by, I see a lot of these like new artisanal places where they don't really know how to stretch pies, but they'll have like 50 little wood peels.
Yeah.
And they can stretch them as slow as possible and just have them like, heat up already, and then like put them in, which is, I guess it's fine. Like, I've had pizza from places like that was great. But my whole question is like, there is an art and there is a discipline behind the old school thing. I was actually
Pause for cars
the
driving.
block's getting wild.
All right, starting. The world is waking up now. We've started early, but now it's almost midday. Oh, good. You got your own soundtrack now.
Everyone's waking up now.
Yeah, everybody's waking up now. So now all the boom boxes are getting turned on and the cars are getting turned on. You know, people just hang out on the block. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, there's an art that's not being taught. You know,
Maybe
from that
traditional.
perspective.
Yeah.
I was very against you know, the Neapolitan slapstick. I didn't understand it. I was like, wait, why, if I go to a Neapolitan competition, like, why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Shouldn't it matter just how good my pizza is? But then after learning more, and there is a reason, I believe now, and it's because it's not just a traditional thing. It's because when you're in a real environment, that's the best way to do it. Two, it's doing things like knocking off the flour. It's protecting the integrity of the crust, because your hands are bigger than that little tiny dough ball. When you have like I learned on 24-ounce dough balls. You know, these are 8-ounce dough balls. So it's a stretching method from like a large pie to a small pie, and
Totally different
thing. You know,
that's interesting. So you know, again, the learning never stops, which is great, and the fact that you're now able. One of the things that it seems like you're able to do, and not everybody can do this, is you can incorporate new information and new knowledge and synthesize it and add it to what you already know, and then kind of, you know, build it into your own vision.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, and you know, you kind of never got to stop. And if there's something, you know, I always said, you know, there's a reason why we don't do Sicilians in Williamsburg Pizza, because, you know, I had John Arena's Sicilian, and then Prince Street came out, and when Prince Street first came out, they had an amazing Sicilian, and my Sicilians weren't up to par with that. And I said, I'm not going to make a Sicilian until my stuff's up to par. Since then, I've, you know, done a lot of work to get it there and yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, it's just like, you know, you just got to know where your lanes are and where you're weak. You got to get stronger. It's like, you got to work out. You know what I'm saying?
It's like a basketball player. If you can't hit the foul shot, then you got to work on your foul shots. You know.
That's it. And you know, I think everybody, if people haven't woken up to that fact already, they should. It's going to be better for them.
Well,
you know?
and also, but it brings up another interesting, you know, debate, which is, you know, is it really necessary for everybody to be able to make every style of pizza, or what about those folks who, like Anthony Mangieri, you know, he's focused on one style, and I call him a Chopin. He just does one particular thing, but does it well, and is always trying to perfect that, rather than to try to be a Tony Gemignani, who's more like Mozart, who can play in any kind of field and do any kind of stuff. They're two totally different people, and maybe have a different sense of what their mission in life is.
Right. Anthony, who's a good friend of mine, I mean, Anthony did something that's very, very, very rare in this business. And you got to look at the whole picture, because it didn't happen overnight. It was a 30, I think, I'm pretty sure it's a 30-year journey at this point. And for 20 of those years or 12 of those years or whatever, like between 15 to 20 of those years, he was an unknown. So if you're willing to, and that goes the same for Chris Bianco. Nobody knew who Chris Bianco was for the first 20 years when he moved out to Arizona.
That's right.
You know, not exactly the same thing could be said for Mark. Mark kind of blew up a little bit quicker. But, I mean, if you're willing to go down that, I respect the hell out of that. It's just like, you know, going into that like, you know, if you're getting into this business and you're 30, 40 years old, you really have 20 years of, like, pretty much not really making money and not having that name to build into that. Yeah. And, I mean, that's something to think about. Like, he didn't become famous overnight.
Right.
Dominic DeMarco, no one knew Dominic DeMarco until 15 years ago. He's been in business for over 60 years.
Yeah.
pizza guy, regular pizza shop. No one outside of Midwood knew him. I worked there when they opened DeMarco's in the West Village. I come back from Italy, picked up the American OG. I call up, Maggie answered, and I went into the interview.
Dominic's daughter, right? Dominic's daughter. Yeah.
And I went in. This is when they had the place in the West Village. They had not even opened yet. They had all this stuff in. So it was me and this Egyptian kid that made pizza in Napoli, and she was like, "Mama, who my father is, who this?" And I'm like, "Yo, wait. My father's just this famous guy." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Who's your father?" She's like, "Dom DeMarco." And I'm like, "Okay, what's a pizzeria?" She's like, "The Faro." I'm like, "I never heard of it." And I'm like, "Where is it?" She's like, "In Brooklyn." I'm like, "I'm from Brooklyn. Where in Brooklyn?" And she goes, "Midwood." And I go, "The Jewish neighborhood?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I don't know." But he had only been famous for like a year off of that Village Voice thing.
Yeah.
And people got to remember, like, the pies he makes now, that he's been making for a while, with the buffalo mozzarella and the regular mozzarella and the filo di latte, the year he started making those was the first year that buffalo mozzarella became relatively easily accessible in New York. Before that, there was no importers. So
Yeah.
there used to be, like, I remember like Vespa would have buffalo mozzarella maybe 2 times a year, and they'd literally have to FedEx it from some guy that was packing, call up Nino in Brooklyn and have him FedEx me a package. It was like that. That's the only way they could get it.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because the Faro pizza suddenly became like, once the internet kind of took over and was able to have you'd see these top 10 lists and top 20 lists and top 100 lists, and the Faro was always showing up as like one of those pilgrimage pizzeria places, and yet Dom DeMarco had been making pizzas for 50 years in obscurity until all of a sudden he blew up on the internet. And of course it's a great place, but who knows?
Well, it used to be, what a lot of people don't know is it used to be regular pizza. It was regular grande cheese. They used to have shrimp parmesan heroes and chicken parm heroes.
Yeah.
They made bacala on Sunday. It was just an old school neighborhood joint, and then he decided to do something different because him and his partner Farina would go to Italy every year, and at that point, because Midwood was always like a Jewish neighborhood, but like Reformed Jewish, and it was as well as a melting pot. There was Puerto Ricans, there was Irish, there was a lot of different people. But
I know the last time I was there, he was surrounded by a lot of halal, Islamic shops too. Yeah.
So the Orthodox started buying up the whole neighborhood, and they can't eat anything but kosher. So every pizzeria there went out of business, and kosher pizzerias opened up. If Dom didn't change and get that Village Voice article, he would have went up the way of them, because they buy blocks. They don't buy houses. They buy blocks when they go in, and it's, you know what I mean? It's the neighborhood changed within like a 3 years, your business.
Well, so much has happened in the last 10, 15 years in the pizza world. There's the whole notion of, kind of pizza itself being a hot commodity instead of just a comfort food that everybody could get, took for granted. Now it's become so almost like the center of the culinary universe, and every top chef wants to make pizza and be in the pizza game too. And
that's another funny. So one of my favorite chefs is Gordon Ramsay, and bro, I got so much respect for him and his discipline and everything. But anytime I've ever seen that guy try to make pizza, and when I'm out of there, it's like, and the same thing with what's his name? I know Wolfgang's got
and Wolfgang Puck's famous for pizza, but yet he's not the one who made the pizzas at Spago. He had
that other guy.
Yeah.
The guy that was on the movie.
Pizza the movie.
That's right.
What's his name?
Ed Ladoo.
Yes. Ed Ladoo.
Who sadly passed away a few years ago at a young age of cancer. Yeah, it was sad because he was just finally getting to the point where people were realizing he was the secret behind this California pizza boom. In fact, he had developed a lot of the pizzas for California Pizza Kitchen as well as Wolfgang Puck, and he had his own place in Laurel Canyon, and then he got sick and just when the world was discovering him, he passed away. So
That's so sad, man. That's so
yeah.
sad.
But listen, before we run out of time, before you came back and during the break, Shaylin and I were talking about something that not everybody who's watching knows because they weren't there. But can you talk about the moment that you proposed to Shaylin at Pizza Expo, which all the people who were there know about? It's become sort of a legendary little story within the pizza community, but not everybody knows. So what happened? How did that? That was about a little over a year ago at Pizza Expo.
Yeah. So I basically like made the decision in Vegas that it's time, because if I wait another year, she's gonna kill me.
Not true. I never said. I never put any pressure.
No pressure. Yeah.
Well, no, that was just a thought going in my head.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it there because I knew that would be special for her. So Nino DeGreco's wife, Jen, ran out to a jewelry store. I like transferred her a bunch of money, and then she
actually bought my ring.
She got the ring
because he was doing a bread demo. I think that day.
I was doing like a demo.
Expo.
So then, hey.
Sorry, our dog is barking at somebody.
All right.
But
so you're gonna pick up the story? Okay.
Yeah. So so then it was like the countdown was happening. Eli Chappelle was already in on it. Like I told Pete, you got to do this, and I had to kind of like write what I was gonna say, and I start to write it, and I was in the back, like outside, like kind of in the smoking outside section, and I'm like trying to write it, and I like kept on like getting emotional, and there was these two girls that worked for Goodfellas were outside smoking, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I got like an hour to like write this like proposal speech." And they were like, "Oh my God, you!" So I just got the pace and kind of dictated it, and they were like, they helped me out. We still have actually the little note card that was for the judges, the judges scorecard. We still have it written out, and then yeah, man. I mean, I grabbed my balls and we made the leap.
But Pete almost messed it up. He didn't remember to call me up on stage. So I almost didn't go up there. I was just standing, thought he was just recognizing me. So I'm like waving, and then Pete tapped back into it and was like, "Come on up here." Yeah.
This is a lot of pressure in a moment like that. More pressure than being in the competition itself, trying to win the pizza competition. And then this was over a year ago at Pizza Expo, and the plan was, assuming, and I guess you must have said, yes, I will, after you proposed, right? And then you were going to get married at this year's Pizza Expo, right? That's when it was going to happen? You were going to the engagement would have been a year. And
put the kibosh on that.
Yeah.
So we'll still...
we want to do some type of reception.
We'll do some type of reception and ceremony at the next Pizza Expo, but for now we're doing like our family wedding, our church wedding is going to be in Brooklyn, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church on October 25th.
Sweet.
Fingers crossed. I mean,
fingers crossed. As long as the bubonic plague doesn't come back, and
Well, that's it. When we're all keeping our fingers crossed for so many reasons, and one is that we all want to get back together again. You sort of get the tribe together again in one place. We're going to try at Atlantic City in October, early October, if again, God willing, that it can happen. But the plans are in place to try to have that expo, the Northeast Pizza and Pasta. Yeah. So maybe we'll see you there if it happens, and if not, then Vegas.
I'm down. I'm over this coronavirus thing. Like, just give me the virus already.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right.
Give me the virus.
Well, a lot of people are feeling that way. They're kind of going, "Let me just get it over with," But it's a scary thing. But again, it's been great talking with you, catching up with you. We'd love to have you come back on again in the future on Pizza Talk. And there's so much more we can talk about. But we know that now you're still open at Williamsburg Pizza, still selling slices. And for anybody in the area, please go. What's the best way for them to see your videos?
Brooklyn Pizza Crew on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And keep a lookout on our Instagram because we're gonna start making pizzas out of the front yard a couple days a week. Me and Shaylin in the pizza oven. So
That's
do a
great.
little.
So people can come by and actually buy slices.
Yeah, we're gonna do like little Neapolitan pies. We got an electric Capone Tiziano inside. We're gonna do like New York style and Detroit's out of that. And,
Cool.
But we'll still do our monthly
I mean,
giveaway.
people are screaming for it. So, because we give away pizzas every other week to the whole neighborhood. We give between like 75 and 150 pies, and we've always done that. We've been doing that for like probably going on 2 or 3 years now.
Great.
And as long as the weather's nice, I don't do it in the winter, only in the summer. But yeah, I mean, everybody on the block's like, fire that up. We want more than every 2 weeks, and we'll pay for it. And I was like, you know what? Let's do something. Let's get a mixer. Let's start making pizza.
Are you still also making new videos with the crew, with the Brooklyn Pizza Crew?
Yeah. So we just had like some videos come out for Hormel's new product, the Cup and Crisp.
Nice.
Have you heard?
No.
So it's really good actually. It's their new it's like a kind of like a cup and char, but for the retail market. So it's available in stores. And yeah, it's Hormel, it's Cup and Crisp. But to be honest with you, it's the closest thing in my memory to the pepperonis that we had as a kid in New York. Because basically what happened was, when this whole cup and char thing came, the Rust Belt never changed, when the pepperoni game changed. But our pepperoni in New York, when they used to curl up and have the oil pools, were always a little bit bigger and didn't get as dark. Yeah. And that's what I thought. And it was like really bringing me back to my childhood. And I was like,
they're so good.
It's great.
Perfect. Well, it's perfect that they got you involved with them on that. Well, we will look for those that was in the store, and also look for the ads when they start to run. And we'll look forward to getting you back on Pizza Talk in the future. And good luck with when you start to do the backyard pizzeria. I love that. I mean, now we're talking about going back to the old days. This is the way it once was.
Well, this is my number one goal in life is, what I'm saying, just to be a good example and bring people's mentality back to those days of past. You know what I mean? But you are a freaking legend and a scholar. I love you, Peter Reinhardt.
Thank you. Love you guys both. Thanks for being with us and for sharing some of these great stories. And we're going to see you on the next round. But for those who are watching, keep checking back every day. New postings of Pizza Talk on Pizza Quest. Thank you, Nino. Thank you, Shaylin. See you hopefully in October.